What is going on, guys? Naeem here. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin's upcoming golden cross here. As you can see, with the 50-day moving average crossing above the 200-day moving average, and why that's a very significant point in this market, especially in determining that $6,500 level that we predicted at the start of this bear market is the bottom of this bear market. And if you look at the total cryptocurrency market cap as well, we're going to be looking at altcoins. You can see the the golden cross has already occurred. And if we look at the past and every single time we've seen a golden cross, you can see there was a golden cross here where we went from around 141 billion in market cap all the way up to that 385 billion in market cap. And then the previous golden cross was the initiation of the 2018 rally, where the crypto market cap hit a top of around 766 billion US dollars. So we're going to be taking a look at a lot of technical analysis today, alongside with taking some questions from our live audience. I'm super excited to be on live. I see we have Buddy, Guerrera, and Shaw here. Hello, Boy the God, also here live. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already to our channel. We're going to be giving away The Intelligent Investor to one of you guys. As you guys know, my favorite book on investing, alongside with Warren Buffett and some of the other successful investors. And so first and foremost, we want to take a look at Bitcoin's technical analysis to determine where we are going to start heading as we see this golden cross occur, which is a very big deal that I feel like not a lot of people are specifically talking about. And if we look at gold, this is where we're going to go ahead and determine the possible prediction for Bitcoin. You can see gold is currently above the recent high that occurred in August of 2019. And if we look at Bitcoin, we're seeing a very similar trend here, where we have this initial high that happened around August. This was specifically in July of 2019, where we reached that $14,000 level. And so in my prediction, I am going to sit here and tell you that I don't believe we're going to see a $20,000 Bitcoin here in the near future. However, I can certainly say that seeing Bitcoin top at around that $14,000 to $16,000 level is very possible, especially with the 2020 halving coming up alongside with other fundamentals here. And you can see when we look at volume, there's not much volume in this area, but we are in a very strong uptrend, and we don't see volume and we see a trend. We can determine the continuation of the trend towards that low volume area is going to go higher. And so that continuation, in my opinion, is going to continue to occur here. So one thing I have been getting a lot of questions about in our Discord group, for those of you that are not part of our Discord group, the link is in the description below, is whether or not it is a good time to enter Bitcoin. Here's a funny article here that I saw today about Valentine's Day. You can see here, it says Bitcoin loves Valentine's Day. One specific part of this article that was interesting says here, if an investor only bought these cryptocurrencies on Valentine's Day each year, they would retrieve a total return of 24% in the case of Bitcoin, 20% of Ether, and 16% for Ripple. When looking at the historical value of these currencies on Valentine's Day and how they perform, you can see typically these cryptocurrencies do well. In 2019, they actually didn't. And so that would actually reinforce the fact that we will most likely see some positive gains here for this market as we approach Valentine's Day tomorrow. So happy Valentine's Day for those of you females and mothers and wives and girlfriends out there. And then, the men, you guys are the ones that should be showing love. But other than that, we're going to be taking some questions from our live audience. I see we have a ton of people on here. Mr. Rodriguez, Eugene, Craig says, what's up? Buddy says, I move the markets, I long and it shorts, and vice versa. Did you guys see what happened on BitMEX with Ripple, with that huge candle wick down to 14 cents from around 30 cents? Man, that liquidated a lot of people. You guys have to be careful in the markets. And talking about markets, when we look at our Discord, you guys know we do have our premium signal group. We've had an amazing altcoin run over the last few days. 40% profits here, 30% profits here. You can see here we also have 50% profits here on TNB, Bitcoin private, 30% profits. So we've been following the altcoin market, and we've been doing very well with the altcoin market, which I assume will continue as we start to see these golden crosses occur with other cryptocurrencies. You can see it's not just Bitcoin that has these golden crosses occurring. You can see there are other cryptocurrencies, EOS and Cardano formed a golden cross. And that's why we're starting to see a lot of these cryptocurrencies see some price movement to the upside. And when we look at Bitcoin dominance, we are still heading down, but we can see there are a little bit of a slowdown here as we've touched this previous resistance level, which is now acting as support, which is a basic technical rule here when we look at technical analysis. But you can see when it comes to volume, major sell volume here. We finally saw a big buy candle here, but you can see this is yet to close on the daily. So we don't know whether or not this is going to hold. In my opinion, it won't, but we don't know that yet. If we look at global cryptocurrency total market capitalization dominance on coin market cap, you can see here in the past, we've seen Bitcoin dominance consolidate at a high and then break support, but then quickly rise back up. And so you can see we're seeing a very similar pattern here. The question is whether or not that will continue, and we will be talking about that as we look at more technical analysis today. But first and foremost, I want you guys to look at Bitcoin. We're going to be drawing out some key levels here on the daily chart. You can see here we've got this very obvious resistance here at 10,497. This was the previous resistance where we saw this huge volume come in, bringing the price from that $7,300 mark all the way up to that 10,497, which is now acting as resistance. However, this is a very different time in this uptrend, as this was most likely manipulation, of course, more than likely an institution that was dollar cost averaging in the market, because we had this death cross occur, and sometimes it's not a bad idea to buy during a bear market, right? With that death cross, it validated that this was going to continue to see downside, and then we did target that $6,500 area if you guys are keeping up with our market updates on Discord. And of course, we did end up bottoming out there, and now we're starting to approach these highs again. We've done it in a very mature fashion. You can see we've consistently went up, nothing like manipulation, and it's interesting because I don't know if you watched our last video, but I talked about how, I was in a room with Brock Pierce once, and, he mentioned that the crypto winter was over, right? And this was prior to this rally. And he said that the next summer that's coming for crypto is going to be a lot more predictable. It's going to follow more patterns. It's going to be a lot more geared towards the everyday retail investor. And the reason being, in my opinion, is so that we can find more confidence in this market, especially with people that are new in this market. Because in 2018, it was really a time that we were able to really broadcast Bitcoin towards the world and for everyone to know about what Bitcoin has to offer. And of course, a lot of people lost money, a lot of people made money, but for the most part, it was an awareness phase, right? We look at the cycles of mass adoption. That was a huge awareness phase. But right now, I don't believe we're going to see that type of hype until we break new highs above 20,000. And so as we start to approach this level between 10,000 and 20,000, I think it's going to be a gradual way up. There are going to be corrections along the way, as we know with any bull market, and there are going to be times to enter. As a matter of fact, for those of you that are in our premium signal group, our initial entry was around that 7,000 mark where we validated that bottom, and then that hit all targets. And recently, once we already went above 10,000 but pushed back around that $9,500 to $700 range, we went ahead and issued another swing trade for Bitcoin, and that, of course, has already hit 3 targets, I believe. And it's, in my opinion, going to continue to hit targets. So there are specific times that you want to enter, but there also are specific times that you want to kind of sit on the sideline and wait for a correction or a pullback for your capital to be preserved, and so you can have a higher allocated position in your investment. And so we look at this this major resistance here, and I say it's major because it's the most recent high that we are now retesting. That right now is what we need to break, and in my opinion, we will break it. Especially with this this golden cross occurring. There's a high chance here, especially now that we've got all of these strong levels of support. You can see. Let's go ahead and draw out these levels of support here. That 9,100 area, right around that $9,200 area, a very major level of support. So we want to make sure that that's being watched here. Not to go off track, Robert O says, nice goatee. Thank you so much. You guys like the goatee, like the video. Let's see how many people like the goatee. But let's continue to go ahead and look at this technical analysis. Once we break this 10497 area, you can see here there's this area here where we've touched this multiple times, about 3 times. It also acted as a support initially here. So that's going to be that next resistance here, right around that $11,000 mark. I'd say it's going to be around that 10947. Of course, that's also a big even. And in my opinion, as soon as we can break through that level, then we will go ahead and start testing these highs. And once we're at that 12.3, of course, it's not going to take that much more time for us to go ahead and break that 13,800 level for us to see that next high. So these are really the major levels to watch in this uptrend. This is on the big chart here. If we pull up a 4-hour chart, we can go ahead and take a little bit more of a closer look at what's happening here with this specific uptrend, because a lot of people are drawing out some patterns that I don't necessarily agree with. And I want to be very specific here when I say I don't agree with these patterns, and it's because I just don't see a lot of these technical principles being followed properly. I see a lot of analysts that are breaking technical principles, and so I want you guys to kind of see what I'm looking at here. So you can see here initially we had this trend line here. We had this initial area here. Let's go ahead and draw some trend lines here. So you've got this area. Let's go ahead and start here as a matter of fact, because you can see this is the most recent area. So we've got this area here where we're now finding that previous resistance is now turning into some support. If we want to draw this channel in different ways, there are many ways to draw this channel. We can even use this area here where we touch that area 3 times as a potential area of resistance here. You can see we've got a little bit of a channel forming here, but in regards to support level, I think we have enough support to maintain levels above that $9,600 area. 9,600 being a major area, in my opinion, being the fact that we just don't want to drop below that, because bears can easily take control from there. And so when we look at this chart here, you can see here we've got this level of resistance that now is starting to act a little bit here as support. You can see here if we draw this line, this right here is now acting as support. So we broke out of this initial wedge here. Now we're on this higher area, and so we have all of this upside. And so it's, in my opinion, not going to be difficult for Bitcoin to break this previous high of that 10,497 for us to then get into this area where we can go ahead and reach that 11,000 US dollar level. And so it's very important to watch this chart here. The major levels right now to watch is that 10,000 big even. You can see that acting as support. It was a previous resistance level once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. You can see we stuck upon that level. We broke out a little bit, but then we failed, broke back into this area here. I think we did post a short around this area that didn't go our way. But of course, you never want to, short with high capital during an uptrend. That's for those of you that are day traders. Of course, you always have those daily opportunities to short. But for the most part, if you are in a trend, your trend is your friend, and so you want to continue to follow the trend. If you want to, if you're a derivative trader, which the majority of the cryptocurrency market, unlike most markets, is derivative. Oh my God, it's almost like a tongue twister. Derivative trading, while the majority of other traditional assets, they thrive off of spot trading. And so, another thing, an issue I think in this market is, is that specifically the fact that a majority of volume here comes from derivatives, while in traditional markets it's spot trading. And so I think that should shift here very soon, and I think that will happen, especially with headlines like this. If you look at this headline here, you can see here Samsung is actually going to be supporting cryptocurrencies with their next phone, which is extremely interesting, because this allows us to see more mass adoption, confirm Bitcoin and Ethereum support coming to next generation of Samsung smartphones. And so they're going to allow you to store Bitcoin and Ethereum on your smartphone, which is different than what we saw in 2018, where a lot of these companies weren't supporting cryptocurrencies. They weren't supporting this market as they are now. And what's cool about that is, like, if you go to China, for example, nobody is paying cash, right? Everyone's using WeChat. In the US, people are still using cash. People use cash all the time in the US. There's not necessarily like this digital currency. And that's why I think Mark Zuckerberg saw so much retaliation from the Congress when he really tried to, enforce Facebook Libra. Them feeling as if he was going to have major control over the act of exchanging value, which, with any government, your Federal Reserve, your currency is the strength of your country. And so, the government was extremely weary of that. And so immediately he scrapped his plans for Facebook Libra and said, all right, well, I'm just going to release the Facebook wallet, right? And so, Mark Zuckerberg always being a rebel, I think it's interesting to see that. But, Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can't really stop it. So when Samsung or Apple may eventually say, hey, every Apple iPhone has a hard wallet, an encrypted, secured hard wallet that comes with its phone, that's going to intrude on traditional government currencies. And I think that's the point of what Bitcoin is here for, right? It's for you to be able to exchange value in a seamless way. And so looking at this chart here, you can see, so a lot of people, they're showing that there's a resistance area right here, right? They're drawing out this channel. I just don't necessarily like that. I like seeing it like this, where not only do we have a resistance, but we also see it acting as support. So you can see this area, a lot of people were expecting a bounce around this area here. And in my opinion, we don't want to get back to that area, right? People have been waiting to get an entry in this area. In my opinion, it's not the time to get an entry, especially because if we do break that, we're breaking a previous resistance, which is now support, and that could end up falling us down from that wedge. I don't expect that to happen, and the reason being is, of course, Bitcoin has yet to see its golden cross here. You can see that 50-day moving average is just now starting to want to go above that 200-day moving average. But with the total cryptocurrency market cap, which in the past has been a very good indicator of the prediction of where Bitcoin is going to head, or the technical aspects of what Bitcoin is going to mimic, you can see we've already seen that golden cross occur, which explains why Ethereum shot from 220 US dollars to that 280 US dollar mark recently, about a day or two ago. And so I think with the overall cryptocurrency market cap, if we were to look at some technical analysis, it's kind of predicting here what's going to happen with Bitcoin, because once again, remember that resistance level that we were talking about, that 10497. When we look at the similarity in the total crypto market cap, we've already broken that resistance level. As you can see here, remember that resistance right here that we were looking at with Bitcoin? Well, guess what? It's already broken in the total cryptocurrency market cap. And so we can sit here and say that, yes, Bitcoin will most likely break this resistance here at 10497 here very soon, and for us to start to continue up, because as Bitcoin goes up and it sees its pullback, that's where we typically like to see the altcoins go ahead and see some strength. And when we're seeing a lot of strength with altcoins, Bitcoin will typically follow. And so we're going to be taking some questions from our audience. I see here Marco says, wrecked capital calling for 17K before halving. My game plan is that we break this 11 to 12,000 resistance, run to 17,000, and then retest the 12,000 area before strong new highs. Well, I think that's a very reasonable prediction, Marcus. Thank you for mentioning that. And that kind of goes in line in what we're drawing and what we're showing here. So Greg says, are we going to see new XRP lows? I'm going to be honest, I would stay away from XRP. I actually had a meeting with our analysts where we do our morning meetings, and I did mention to them that I would like to see less altcoin derivative signals sent out to our premium members, especially after what happened with XRP on BitMEX. If you guys don't know, recently XRP on BitMEX saw a huge wick down. We'll go ahead and pull that up here. If we pull up the XRP, I believe is on the H20 contract here, you can see here we saw this wick out of nowhere. Actually, it was the USD chart here. So it's going to be on the USD contract. So this wick right here ended up liquidating people's accounts like crazy. And so, when you're derivative trading in a manipulated market with a shit coin, excuse my language, YouTube is probably going to censor this video now. What did I do? I might as well just give this book away at this point. I'm obviously already making mistakes here on this video. But anyways, XRP, people just, if I were you, there were headlines recently with the founders selling off a ton of XRP. I would definitely be careful with a coin like that, especially with its centralized cryptocurrency approach. People say it's a decentralized cryptocurrency and all of these different things, but at the end of the day, XRP is a company. If we look at this article here, XRP bullish case bolstered as Ripple's ranked the second most valuable fintech startup in the U.S. by Forbes, right? So I don't think there is much, as an advocate of a decentralized model more than they're an advocate of we want to be a fintech startup, a company that tries to enable the transfer of money with more ease, utilizing blockchain technology with our XRP token and coin. And so, it's a little bit of a different scenario there. But when XRP is utilized with its use case, it's typically liquidated immediately. It's a very short amount of time that it's that the capital stays in XRP. And so I think with the founders recently selling off billions of coins, I think it's more of a way for them to fund the project. And so it's almost like you put your money in XRP and then out of nowhere, the founders like, all right, perfect, price is up, let's go ahead and take some profits, right? And so that wick really hurt a lot of people. Accounts were liquidated on BitMEX just because of that wick. And so with our analysts, we had a meeting and I said, hey, like we're fine with these trades because obviously we have members that derivative trade these altcoins, but at the end of the day, we want to be more careful with coins like XRP moving forward. And so we're going to be more focused on sending out our Bitcoin trades and things of that nature. So looking at Bitcoin, you can see we're finding that support here along that level, and this is my current technical analysis of what's currently occurring. And so I feel like this area here where we have all this open room, you can see all this open room here is priming Bitcoin to go ahead and break that new high into that level. And so once we break that, for us to go ahead and break to the higher part of this channel and hit that $11,000 level, it will most likely take us out of this previous channel that we saw here, and at that point, I think we may see Bitcoin shoot straight towards that $12,300 mark, because at that point I think investors will realize the fact that, okay, obviously, we've got all of this consolidation, especially when we start heading towards that $11,000 range. People will realize, okay, you've got all of this volume here. Look at this volume on this list. This volume here is all going to act as support. And so that support is going to give investors confidence at the end of the day that entering a position even at these levels isn't probably a bad idea. And as we saw from this article, Bitcoin price loves Valentine's Day. Historically, if an investor only bought these cryptocurrencies on Valentine's Day this year, they'd receive a total return of 24%, 20%, 16%. And so, it's not only the technicals here, it's the fundamentals, as well as the history that kind of validates the fact that we are still in a very strong uptrend. We will most likely see a continued version of upside. And then to add on to that opinion, market structure is a very important thing here. And when we look at gold's market structure, for those of you that are new to this channel that don't understand, my correlation with gold and Bitcoin, you can see gold acts a lot like Bitcoin, where gold initially saw a top here in 2011 at that $1,900 area, following a bear market, an accumulation phase, and now starting to see bullish action, a lot like Bitcoin's market structure. And so when you look at that more in a micro time frame, you can see here we've already broken the previous high that recently occurred in that August to July range in 2019, but Bitcoin has yet to follow that pattern. And so therefore, I can predict here that we'll most likely go ahead and break that $13,000 area. And I think that really over the time between now and the halving, I think we'll stick around this area here before we break that $20,000 mark. And so if I were to assume what the price action would look like from here, I think we will see continued upside here. Maybe some consolidations, but it's really this area that we want to break here, all this area here that we want to get to before maybe taking profits from our longer term positions, because at that point, things are a little bit uncertain unless gold goes ahead and continues its uptrend. And then we can assume, once gold goes ahead and pushes above its high, I think that's when we can go ahead and predict that Bitcoin will pass $20,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. Say yes or no in the chat here for those of you watching live if you agree or disagree with this. But I don't think Bitcoin will go over 20,000 until gold can go above 1900. So if you guys agree with that opinion, say yes. If you don't, say no and why, and we can discuss that and have a little bit more of a collaborative conversation about that. Just historically with Bitcoin following the patterns of gold, and Bitcoin being considered and categorized as a digital version of gold, I think it's very important for us to realize the correlations and also realize that we more than likely want to see gold as a storage of value, see new highs before we can assume that Bitcoin is just going to see new highs. But at the end of the day, I think this all makes sense. We want to see a higher price level for Bitcoin so that miners can become profitable, and there's a continuation of that. And especially with the halving and mining, coming up, we need to see a higher price for Bitcoin for it to, sustain itself. So I think that's important. Orazi, Cornelius, Edward Park, Mr. Rodriguez say yes. Everyone here says yes, it makes sense. So I love it. Orazi says BTC is a child of gold. So that's great. I mean, Cornelius, BTC is pretty much the virtual version of gold. And I think that's very, very important. Robert O says tips on leverage trading. Just always leverage low. For those of you that are not in our Discord, I think these tips will help you. We even have a free signals chat. We don't post all of our signals there, of course. We post like 1 out of 10 or 15 signals in there, but you'll still get some of our signals. But some of the tips I can give you here is focus on price action, market structure, overall trend on higher time frames. Use indicators as confirmations. Never use indicators, to make a trade, but use it as confirmation. Patience is a virtue. Let trades come to you, right? Set your buy limits, set your buy stops, things of that nature. Never over leverage or use, only 3 to 5x max. If you've never experienced leverage, don't just jump into it. Always trail stops and profit. Why? Because you can go to bed and fall asleep like a baby, knowing that when you wake up, you're either gonna not make any money or you're gonna have your take profit hit, right? Or if you're smart, you take profit halfway through and then you go to sleep with a break even stop. So now you've already made money. You go to sleep like a baby and then you wake up and then you may have made more money or maybe you didn't, And so, I like having that as a repeating, thing here on our Discord so that especially when people are following our signals, are able to continue to keep that in their in their conscious and not in their subconscious, so that they're making those trades. Matter of fact, I was reading the Intelligent Investor today, and it's funny. You read the first page here, and it literally says here, we're going to teach you how to be profitable. It says a sound intellectual framework for making decisions, and the ability to keep emotions from corroding the framework is the secret to investing in a timely fashion. But it also says here, you must apply the emotional discipline. We can't teach you that. And so nobody can teach you emotional discipline. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and give this book away to one of you guys watching this stream here. And so here's my question to you guys, and we'll give away this book. Which phone manufacturer, and I just spoke about this, is now going to support a Bitcoin and Ethereum wallet in its next phone? Whoever answers that question right, we'll go ahead and win the Intelligent Investor, my favorite book on investing. And we may, give away another one at the end of this video. But in order to qualify, just make sure to answer the question right now in the chat. I'll choose somebody and like the video so that you guys can go ahead and be qualified for here. I see we've got a ton of people here saying, let's see, Justin says Android. I didn't say Android, sorry. Andrew says LG. Orazi says Android. Jay Marjorie says HTC. I don't think you guys were on the live stream when we talked about the article, right? So here's the article here. EOS and Cardano formed. Oh no, I'm sorry. This was the other article here. So you can see here the article here is confirmed. Bitcoin and Ethereum ETH support coming next to Samsung phones. So let's go ahead and see who said Samsung. Derek Smith, Samsung. You went ahead and won the book, An Intelligent Investor. Send me a message on Discord. If you're not in the Discord, the link is in the description below. It's the best resource I can ever recommend in the cryptocurrency market, because we are posting daily market updates for you guys. And so not only are you guys getting our signals, if you guys are in our premium group, you get all of our signals, our crypto, BitMEX, Forex, and stock signals, but you get our market updates. And so this I'm sending out every single day on the go for you guys to know exactly what's happening in the market on your phone. And so you can be at work, you can be with your wife, you can be with, for those of you that are, self-employed, you can be working and have those updates on your phone. But go ahead and send me a message on Discord with your information. We'll go ahead and get you that book. So let's go ahead and look at some other technical analysis here. Very important technical analysis is going to be the total cryptocurrency market cap, because this is going to determine what the altcoins are going to look like in the next few weeks. And we're going to talk about whether or not it's better right now to enter into altcoins and which altcoins to enter. And we'll also look at some altcoin technical analysis before we wrap up this video. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, go ahead and, put something in the chat that would make me laugh, and I'll go ahead and look at the chat here once we finish this technical analysis. Let's first and foremost look at this daily chart and drop some very key resistance levels. You can see that $316 billion mark. That's going to be that next resistance that we want to watch here. We have this area of resistance that is now going to be previous support. It's actually exactly where we're at right now. So you can see we've actually pulled back to this area. If you guys want to know exactly what I'm drawing here, you've got that previous resistance. I definitely take these wicks into consideration, and I take every sort of high and low into consideration when looking at these resistance levels. And so you can see we are literally on that right now. We'll go ahead and do a more micro view here in just a second, but let's go ahead and draw a couple more key levels here to determine where we expect market cap to head. Because if gold is going to, break its recent high that happened in August or September of 2019, we can assume the total cryptocurrency market cap will also break that recent high. And you can see here with total crypto market cap, surprisingly enough, we're seeing a lot of sell volume here. So let's pay attention to this, because, here's a possibility. Let me bring the rationality here. Let me bring the bearish case here, right? There's always a bearish scenario possibility. Let's say we see a flash crash here with Bitcoin, and this 50-day moving average doesn't end up going above the 200-day moving average. Therefore, there's no golden cross. Well, in that case, maybe we aren't yet going to see a $14,000, $15,000 Bitcoin, and then maybe we'll start to see a correction down towards that $9,000 level for another entry. Is that likely? Most likely not, in my opinion, especially with past correlations and what's been happening in the market, especially just with Tesla going up 250%. If Tesla can go up 250%, I think Bitcoin has a little bit more value than an electric car manufacturer, right? That actually doesn't even profit more than Ford and Chevy, but is valued a lot more than Ford and Chevy. Isn't that kind of weird? They just started making profit. Matter of fact, I actually just ordered a Tesla recently, and it's been about 5 weeks that it hasn't been delivered, right? I had a great month trading. As you guys know, I've posted all of my results on Instagram. If you guys are on Instagram, mine is at Naeem. I'm always posting my results, all my trade results. I post my entries, my exits, what I'm doing, the profits, and you guys know we've had great really it was when I brought my analysts on board that my trading accelerated to another level. And it's because, in my opinion, in a collaborative environment, when you're trading, it becomes so much easier. And that's why I love our Discord, because we have all of our analysts there, but we also have our community in our chat here, and they're constantly just talking about, you can see here, thank you so much. I'm overthinking it. I guess the 10125 support. This is right now, 10:23 p.m. People chatting a daily basis, charts being posted, and this is all on your phone as well. And so if you guys aren't in our Discord group, make sure to get in there so you guys can stay up to date and knowledgeable. But other than that, I keep jumping back and forth. If Tesla can do 250%, I think the cryptocurrency market can also, beat that. And so, interestingly enough, you can see on the daily, obviously this candle has yet to close. We've got 20 hours for this next, candle to close. But we have, seen a large influx of sell volume here. But once again, we're still maintaining that previous resistance, which is now support, and we've got all of these levels of support here, and all this volume, right? The volume is really what matters here. The three most important parts of trading or understanding markets. Number one is market structure. Number two is going to be price action, and then number three is the overall trend. And so when we look at price action, which considers volume into that, you can see we've got all this volume here on this right-hand side, holding the price action to where it currently is at right now. And so I think that's a very important fact here to realize that even if we do see any sort of sell-off right here with altcoins, with Bitcoin, at the end of the day, we've got support here at 270 billion. And I'm not going to draw the rest of the support levels because we have not yet to see a downtrend. We're still in a very strong uptrend, but the next level of resistance here is going to be at $317 billion mark. And so for those of you trading altcoins, maybe you want to put an indicator, an alert there, so you know, okay, if we start to head past 310 billion, I should start taking profits on my altcoins, right? That's a good suggestion, right? So understand that you want to know these levels because that's where we'll possibly see pullbacks. So looking at the overall market cap, we've got that golden cross. What's very interesting is I want to draw this out for you guys. I think this is extremely important. Watch this chart here. You can see golden cross just happened. When's the last golden cross that occurred, right? The last golden cross that occurred here was on April 2019. Well, what happened on April 2019 when that gold cross occurred? We were in a consolidation around that $165 billion market cap level. And you can see once that golden cross occurred, we saw major gains. If we were to go ahead and price that in, you can see here from this area, once that occurred, you can see if we look at how much that went up, let's go ahead and get this chart done more proper for you guys. We saw a 173% increase after that golden cross, probably 160% because I went a little bit lower here. But that was the last golden cross that occurred on the total cryptocurrency market cap. If we were to go throughout the whole bear market of 2018 towards 2019, that 50-day moving average stayed below that 200-day moving average. So we never saw a golden cross happen there. And so that, in my opinion, validates the fact that the bear market is done at this point and we are heading towards into a bull market, and it's just the start, right? And once again, if we look at articles, we look at past correlations, I like mentioning this today because it's Valentine's Day. If an investor only bought these cryptocurrencies on Valentine's Day each year, they would retrieve a total return of 20% in Bitcoin, right? So historically, Bitcoin price loves Valentine's Day. Once again, make sure all of you men out there with spouses, with mothers, take care of them on Valentine's Day. That's going to come tomorrow. For those of you that don't celebrate, don't worry about it. So we saw a death cross here where that 50-day crossed below the 200-day. That ended up starting that huge bear cycle and that downtrend. But if we continue to go back in history, you can see the last time we saw see, this is probably not even going to show the chart here, but we're looking at 4 or 5 years here. So this golden cross that has just occurred with the total cryptocurrency market cap, the last time that happened, we saw 150% increase, has just happened. And so in my opinion, we will follow gold's market structure. We'll go ahead and break that $386 billion market cap, and we'll go ahead and most likely see some consolidation from that $400 to $533 billion market cap. So the total cryptocurrency market cap is following gold right now more closely than Bitcoin is, right? Because it's ahead of the game, right? And then not only that, you can see we've got this area here that we talked about before, that resistance, right? That already broke on the total cryptocurrency market cap. In Bitcoin, that has yet to break, right? So this will break. That's next, right? So this is yet to break on Bitcoin. That's going to happen here very soon, especially with Bitcoin being 61% of the market right now. And so when that breaks, in my opinion, that's going to show and confirm that we're going to go ahead and break that recent top of around 13,700. And so if all of this is being correlated upon gold, isn't it important for us to look at gold's chart? 100%. So I think we should do a little bit of gold. You guys want to see gold? If you want to see some gold technical analysis, say I, and we'll go ahead and take some questions here. Oliver in the YouTube chat says, don't you think that on Monday, once the golden cross will occur, BTC will dump massively, just like the death cross pumped BTC 42% on October 25th, 2019? Good question, Oliver. I don't think so. I think the reason being is when Bitcoin did see that death cross occur, yes, we saw institutional manipulation pump Bitcoin up. But at the end of the day, I think that reason was because the death cross, and it actually talks about this in the Intelligent Investor, right? It's the Dow theory. It's you want to buy when everyone's selling and you want to sell when everyone's buying. And so I think, of course, this was institutional manipulation when we did see the 7,300 take us to 10.4, but at the end of the day, we still formed a lower low. And so the death cross was confirmed as a bearish indicator. And if you guys are following us on TradingView, we actually posted the exact target of where we were going to head down to before that happened. At 9,000, we posted, if you guys look here on TradingView, this is a chart that I made myself and I posted when Bitcoin was at 9,100 after that initial pump, and I said, hey, we're in this death cross. Well, guess what? That was my target right there. We bounced right at our target, right? And then guess what? We not only predicted the top, but we also predicted the bottom, right? So you can see here at 7,500, I posted this chart and I said, well, guess what? We're going long now. And guess what's happened thus far? Well, of course, 10 years of experience does good, right? So I've been in this market for a long time. I understand what's happening in this market. And that's why we have such a very successful and tight knit group in our Discord, because these are the charts that I'm posting in our Discord, and of course that's the macro that I'm showing you, and we're always posting the micro in our market updates chat on Discord. But I just don't think that at the end of the day, a golden cross here is going to bring us down. I think the golden cross, historically as it has in the past, will bring us up and see new highs, and we will continue to follow ZAL USD. Edward Park says I. Cornelius says I. So we'll do a gold technical analysis here just a sec, because gold is the physical version of Bitcoin, and the digital version is Bitcoin. So it's important to see what's happening here. But I do want to take a couple more questions here on the chat. Orazy says, is there a proprietary volume indicator on the side? No, it's just an adjusted volume indicator. I just changed the colors up, because really what I'm trying to see is whether it's sell volume or buy volume. I want to know what the volume amount is. That's what matters to me. It's how much volume, right? And I'm glad you mentioned that. If we look at Bitcoin transactions per day, a very, very important fundamental indicator here. I want you guys to realize what's happening right here. You can see this chart. Bitcoin transactions per day just broke this little downtrend. I'm going to just move this to the left here away from the chat. You can see here we were in this downtrend, right? And we just broke above, right? So transactions per day is a very big fundamental indicator about Bitcoin, because if you're not using Bitcoin, if the world isn't using Bitcoin, well, where's the value in Bitcoin, right? And so it's a very important part here. And so that also has recently broke a resistance. And so Bitcoin transactions per day looking extremely bullish in my opinion. And so I think that's an important chart to keep in mind when understanding the projection of this market and where we're headed. And so, especially over the last few hours, we have not seen much. Here's a better Bitcoin transactions per day chart for you guys. This is the one that we typically use. If we go to all time here, you can see that break a little more clearly. You can see on that right hand side, do you guys see where now we're starting to finally see some higher levels? And you can see this is where that $20,000 Bitcoin happened at 400,000 transactions per day. And right now we're easily maintaining above 300,000 transactions per day, which is a huge feat for Bitcoin, because after that bear market, we bottomed at like 140,000 transactions per day. And so for us to be maintaining 300,000 transactions per day is a very important key fact here. So we're going to be doing a gold technical analysis, because once again, Bitcoin has been following gold. And for us to project that Bitcoin is going to go ahead and top over that $13,700 mark, we want to know what's going to happen after that. So far, if we look at the gold chart, there's going to be a consolidation. But I want to take a couple more questions here. Tim Matthews says, didn't this guy quit after he lost money in the last crash? I wouldn't say, we lost money in the last crash when we were on our Discord every single day posting what was happening. As I just posted right now. Matter of fact, instead of me speaking for myself, I'm going to let the crowd speak. Matter of fact, why don't we pull up the Discord here? For those of you that have benefited from our market updates and from our Discord, say something in the chat for some of these people here that like to doubt others. You can see here, this really made my day. Will says, Naeem, I want to say welcome back. You and your team, your Discord channel has literally changed my life, my family life in many ways. I can never imagine. Thank you for all that you do in your team. Figure I dropped that to you while I had your attention. Have a great evening, buddy. That's after he was asking for some help on how to access the signals. He's been a premium member for over 2 years. And so, I don't think people would be fine losing money for over 2 years and then post such a nice comment, huh? So Mr. Rodriguez says, your goatee looks like you just hit puberty. Matter of fact, the reason I have the goatee is I busted my chin with the car accident, and so I had to grow the goatee to kind of cover that up. And I lost my 2 front teeth. Matter of fact, I can pull one of my teeth out right now because I'm still in the healing period for the implant. It has to go through osseointegration. But, of course, we all go through ups and downs. But it's funny because during that downtime, we had some of the best trades in our Discord. That's when I posted that swing trade at 7,000. That's when I made those charts on TradingView, predicting the top, predicting the bottom. And it was a lot of self-reflection. The only issue was I couldn't make content. And so I'm glad that I'm back here with you guys. If you guys appreciate me being back, show your support, love, like the video, whatever you guys want here. JJ says, your Ruby members answered first, buddy. Hello, voices. Do you think Tesla chart was acting like Bitcoin did on 2017? Yeah, it's completely overvalued. You look at Chevy, you look at Ford, you look at their profitability, way more than Tesla, way bigger than Tesla. Tesla just now starting to see profitability, and it's valued a lot higher. It's really a matter of when is it time to short. And so I might leave that up to our stock analysts to go ahead and post that short once it occurs. But I don't think we actually post shorts for the stock market, but that may come soon. Let's see. Edward says your content in TA is super effective. Thank you so much. Colored says, yeah, I've been making some good money. Thank you. Awesome, guys. See, I don't have to go ahead and sit here and talk about it. I let you guys talk for me. Orazy says, "I'm glad you're alive." Oliver says, "That's why you bought a Tesla." I think I bought the Tesla for the air filtration system with the coronavirus going around. Right? It's funny. I actually was reading an article about the coronavirus, and there was a company that was being used. Their medication was being used to treat the coronavirus. The ticker symbol was ABBV. And so I looked at the chart, and it was like at a low. It was like almost at like not an all-time low, but it was at a really low point. And so I'm like, are you kidding me? I posted a signal for it, and it hit all the targets in like 5 days, and it shot up. And it's because the market's it's 80% emotional, 10% technical, and 10% fundamental. And so if it's fundamental, it matters, right? So that's very important. Craig says, been a member for a year. Appreciate Naeem, the group and his team. Super helpful learning more and more each day. Thank you guys so much. Robert says, been a follower since sniperstube. You know what I love about our channel is if you type in youtube.com/snipers, it'll come straight to our channel. And that's because of course I've been in the market for a long time, and my friends used to call me the sniper, because I would always say, hey dude, you got it, Tesla is a good buy right now. I remember Tesla hit 212. I was like, guys, you have to buy it at 212. Shot up. I remember Uber, Travis Kalanick sold off $1.9 billion in Uber shares. I'm like, whenever is a CEO going to sell off $1.9 billion in shares? I'm like, buy, buy, buy. Shot up, right? So 34% first week of 2020, I think. It was crazy. The markets are such a beautiful thing. And that's why I want to give away this book to one of you guys. We'll do one more book giveaway. So hopefully someone else will be blessed by this book. It's funny, in one of the chapters, he even talks about this book being a prescription. It says, this book precisely and clearly prescribes the proper framework, right? It prescribes it to you. This is something that Warren Buffett talks about. He says, The Intelligent Investor, one of the best books ever by Benjamin Graham. So for those of you that haven't gotten that, read that book if you guys have had any sort of trouble with your investments or your trading or whatever it might be. This book will clear out walls. It will clear out the fog, and it will really give you some clarity on how to control your emotions when it comes to markets, especially when you're in a bull market, you're in a bear market. You have to know how to control your emotions. One interesting thing here to watch here with gold. So let's go ahead and move on to some very important technical analysis, because what's happening to gold is most likely going to be how Bitcoin follows, right? And so, the expectation for Bitcoin to go ahead and follow gold and break the recent high in 2019, I think that's pretty given at this point. We're following the trend up unless we see a major change, we see a major sell-off, which is not, unpredictable in this type of market. But I just don't think it will happen, based on everything that's going on. I think we'll definitely go ahead and break that previous high, just like gold did. But what gold is doing right now is very important. So we have to look at what's happening. You can see, I think one thing to realize is we had this huge, huge, huge sell candle at this top. This was a very, very significant sell candle in my opinion, because the previous top we saw a sell candle like that, but it was followed by a buy candle or a buy. We're talking about the volume bars here. It was followed by enough buy volume to justify that sell. But we're not seeing that justification here, in my opinion. And so, if gold is topped, then maybe Bitcoin will top out at 14,000, right? Is that an important thing to realize? Well, that's why we're going to talk about it, right? So the one positive here is it's surrounded by buyers, right? So yes, we saw that one big institutional sell candle. Maybe we didn't see the justification of that, but maybe that was just the hesitancy of the retail investors and other institutions, right? So the one positive here is the fact that yes, at least we had all of this surrounding it. Matter of fact, if we looked after that candlestick, you can see, we can assume that the buyer pressure is still a little bit stronger. If we look at, after that, you can see on this bottom left hand side, it looks like there's a lot more buyers than sellers after that initial candle. So is at the top. Well, these type of levels of volume, without justification, could possibly be a top. in the short term. But the good thing is we have strong volume around 1500 for gold right now. And, I think this channel is going to continue to mature. And there is a possibility that we test this, we drop back down to the lower part of the channel before seeing higher highs. If that happens, well, guess what? With Bitcoin, that would make us assume that in this current channel that we're forming, we may possibly get another opportunity. If we were to break that top, we may get a possibility to see 9,000, 8,000, or maybe even this level here of 7,000, 8,000 for another entry. And so that's why I want you guys to realize that you don't want to just FOMO into this market. Matter of fact, you have to be very careful. But the good thing is, as Brock Pierce mentioned to me in that private meeting I was with him, is this market this time around in this bull trend is going to be a lot more predictable. If we look at Google Trends, I want to do something interesting here with you guys. I want you guys to see the amount of interest the world had on Bitcoin by Bitcoin, right? I think that's a very important search term to see interest in. If we look at the past 5 years, you can see we're seeing this initial spike right now of buy Bitcoin, right? A lot of more people are searching buy Bitcoin. You can see when we initially rallied, this is confirmation, by the way, that what I'm showing you is important. June 2019, we saw this spike up. Well, guess what? June 2019, we saw $14,000 Bitcoin. So what I'm showing you guys here is important. So if we look here, past 5 years, in 2018, the amount of interest was astronomical. I mean, I don't think we'll see interest this high maybe ever again, right? When Bitcoin hit 20,000, it was worldwide news. It was huge. We're not going to see that again. I just don't see that happening. If we break 20,000, I think we'll see half of that. But this was what we needed for us to maintain these higher levels and for us to see a bull market right now and for us to be above 10,000 again. We needed that initial awareness, right? It's like the adoption cycle, right? The adoption cycle is so important to realize that things go through a cycle, and part of that cycle is mass adoption. And so you can see here the early adopters, at this point, we're past this phase of early adoption, and we're in this early majority phase, right? And so, uh, is that a good or bad thing? I would say it's the reason we transitioned sniperstube to Traders Profit Club and expanded to forex stocks and crypto, because is Bitcoin going to be the investment vehicle that makes you a billionaire? I don't think so. Is it an investment vehicle? Is it a vehicle to trade? Is it something that you can trade on margin with, yes, it's a tradable asset and it's an investment, it's storage of value. But is it going to make you rich? Probably not. And so, yes, we posted that trading view chart saying, oh, Bitcoin is going to go to, 140,000 because that's, where it topped. But, this was an exaggerated trading view post. The point was, what I wanted to exaggerate here was that we bottomed out and that we're going to see higher levels. And so that was the exaggeration. For Bitcoin to go that high, you know, I would want to see gold break highs as well, right? So at the end of the day, you have to understand it's all about fundamentals. It's all about technicals. I think there has to be a major, major, major event that catapults Bitcoin that high, because we can't sit here. The intelligent investor talks about this a lot. You can't just sit here and be a speculative investor. You have to be smart with what you're doing. And so I think that's important to realize. And so, with gold, and we look at the chart with gold, we're in this channel, we're consolidating this channel, and I think it's important to watch what happens here, because certainly we could just see gold fly through the roof, and I guarantee you Bitcoin's going to follow, right? So Color Fusion says, I agree 100%. It's also very easy to chart. Yes, and we have a course as well for those of you that don't know how to chart. Charlie says, I've been watching the same great videos since he was using a $100 Logitech webcam from his parents' house in Orlando, Florida. Oh, man, that's funny. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. My parents' house, I was pretty sure it was $110, that webcam. No, I'm just kidding. Robert, if you guys were watching when we had the deer in the back, that's the real viewers right there. Who remembers the deer? He says, what hard wallet would you recommend? I mean, the most popular ones you can get are Trezors, right? You know, uh, hard wallets, there are many of them that are good. Albert says, yeah, talk about LTC, please. Chrissy says LTC. We'll do a Litecoin analysis here before we end this. Um, let's see. Crypto brand, been a member since sniperstube. This guy is the most transparent. Rather we're long or short, he shares his knowledge and teaches you to fish, not just to eat. Love that. Awesome, guys. Craig says, been a member for a year. Appreciate the group and his team. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Let's see. Any questions here that can provoke some thought and some more interesting facts here? Let's see. Color Futures, I missed the 2 to 3 minute daily morning reports Kyle used to do. Can we go back to those? Handling a team of analysts is not easy. These analysts come and go. There's disagreements, agreements. Kyle is such an amazing analyst, and God bless him and his family. And we've been through many analysts actually over the last 2 years. It's just part of the game. At the end of the day, it's not always going to be, you know, something somebody wants to pursue for a longer time. As of recently, we've been incentivizing our analysts in different ways, but that's a different conversation here. Crypto Brand just got robbed, and he said he wanted that book. Do you think Tesla was acting like Bitcoin? All right, so let's go ahead and do a Litecoin analysis. Let's go over a couple altcoins that I'm watching that I think are going to see some good gains here, and some altcoins that haven't yet seen gains that we could possibly watch. JJ says Zilliqa. So we look at gold. We're in a consolidation. We're in a channel. Not much is going to change here, I think, until something changes, right? There's some support. There's some resistance. We're watching gold. It's still bullish. It's still in its bull trend. And overall, yes, we saw this major sell, but I think we're fine. It was after a very, very, very long period of buys, right? And so, that I'm not too worried about. If we pull up Ethereum, we'll do Ethereum, then we'll do Litecoin. Let's talk about Ethereum. We've got Ethereum 2.0 coming up. You got Vitalik Buterin just going all over with Ethereum. You can notice here with Ethereum, we also have this death or this golden cross here about to occur, right? So I think one thing, if you guys are taking notes, is understand that the altcoins that you want to watch right now for more price movement is the ones that have yet to see a golden cross with their moving averages. Because when we look at total cryptocurrency market cap, we've already seen the golden cross, right? And so the total cryptocurrency market cap, there are a lot of coins that have already seen a golden cross, and we'll go over some of those coins. But there are some coins that haven't yet. Bitcoin is one, and Ethereum is another. So this is even closer to the golden cross than Bitcoin. And so if we were to go ahead and look at some very, very key levels here, let's go ahead and first draw this out here at 364 US dollars, very key level here. And I tell you that because when we look at that level, this was a very strong support here in April 2018, and it also acted as a very strong resistance here in July of 2019, right? And so we want to watch that $364 target for the short term. Now, another area that we want to watch here is this consolidation period. And so you can see here, we've got this level right around that 288, I'd say $290 mark. You can see this was not only a level of resistance here, this was also a level of previous consolidation. And you can see here, this staying above that $290 level allowed Ethereum to go above $1,000. When we broke below that, Ethereum went below $100, right? And so that level, in my opinion, that $290 level is a key level alongside with that $365 mark, because you can see that was that previous support. And so I think those are going to be the two next areas here for Ethereum to test. But at this point, we are at a level of a pretty high area. And you can see here, the previous support of this consolidation was around that 228. So if we were to see a pullback for Ethereum to 228, 230, we will most likely issue a swing trade for those of you that are in our premium group, for those of you that are in our Discord. And so, that may be the area to enter. But I think Ethereum is a little bit, kind of overbought at this point. And it's kind of in an area where, altcoins in general, we want to be more cautious with in comparison to Bitcoin, right? So always be more cautious with altcoins, use less capital in altcoins. And when you look at most hedge funds and their asset allocation, they always have a lot less in altcoins than they do in Bitcoin, right? For the most part, the smart funds, the ones that are making money, right? The ones that are still up and running and not shut down, right? But for the most part, I think Ethereum has seen, quite the levels that it's needed to see. Before we go to Litecoin, one thing I do want to point out here with Ethereum is we have this rising volume here. I think that's a very positive sign that we could break that $290 mark. I think we will, and then go past that $367 area. You can see we've got rising volume here. So I wouldn't be surprised for another level of high volume to come in to go ahead and continue that trend there. And once again, we've got that golden cross that has yet to occur. And if you guys want a shorter, if you guys want a more micro technical analysis, let me know. But I think we'll just stick with macro for altcoins. I think that's more appropriate. We look at LTC. Let's go ahead and look at this daily chart, see any key levels that are forming here. So you can see this next resistance is going to be around that 150 US dollar mark. That was that previous high of June of 2019. Also acted as a support in the past. I think another level to watch here is the fact that we're still below a lot of these key levels. And another key level is 100, right? So we look at 100, you can see we tapped once, twice here, resistance, support, tapped here before breaking out to 429. We tapped here as resistance. We stayed above it a little bit. We found resistance up to that $152 area before we went ahead and dropped back down. And so I think the next level that we want to watch is that $100 USD mark. Will it go ahead and reach that? Most likely with this golden cross here that is about to happen. So I also think this is not looking too bad. But I think there are better opportunities in the altcoin market than just Ethereum and Litecoin. Some of those opportunities I think can be a little bit more broadcasted by looking at coin market cap and pulling up the total cryptocurrency charts here and seeing the top cryptocurrencies, because we want a cryptocurrency that has high liquidity and a high market cap. And so when we're looking at these top cryptocurrencies, you can see we've got Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Litecoin, EOS, Binance Coin, Tezos. I think one interesting one that has recently seen a lot of attention is Cardano and XRP, of course. I think those are going to be important to watch. So with Litecoin, I think we'll head towards that 100, and I think that's going to be an area to watch because you can see it's a very major level for Litecoin, and so there are several ways to play it. You can take profits at that level, or you can play a breakout play where like what happened here, where it broke 100, it shot up to 429. You could set up a buy stop at 106.2, and assume that that's going to go ahead and reach 140 and have a pretty solid entry for that level. But in general, our analysts are watching altcoins right now in order to issue some more entries. Recently, we posted a ton of altcoins, and we had a ton of great results. When we look at our results over the last couple of days, you can see we had a lot of altcoin results. Just yesterday alone, I posted Stellar on Coinbase and Binance. Those both hit targets. And then prior to that, we saw a lot of gains here, 40, 50, 60% gains with altcoins. Dusk, AE, SNM, APPC, Wabi, 25%, 30% ARN. And so I think for the majority of the altcoins right now, we've seen a lot of gains, and we're waiting for a pullback overall. But let's go ahead and look at Ripple as well, because I think there are some better altcoins to watch right now. Interestingly enough, with Ripple, I like what Ripple is doing right now. As much as I wouldn't like to trade it on margin just because of the manipulation. To hold Ripple may not be a bad idea in certain cases. You can see we're just now starting to see a rise in volume. We have yet to see strong volume. Another interesting thing is we've just crossed over the 100-day moving average, and we're very far from that 200-day moving average. And so there's a lot more room to go with Ripple, and you can see we're just now approaching this low volume area in an uptrend. And so I think it has a lot more of a potential to reach higher levels towards that 44-cent mark, because you can see that level of volume is going to eventually act as support here. And then, of course, because we're going to go on the continuation of the current trend, the trend is up, there's that possibility that we can go to that 46-cent mark. So, coins like Ripple look a lot better than Ethereum and Litecoin, which have already seen a lot of gains. And then the other good thing about Ripple, in my opinion, is the fact that we have all of these levels of consolidation where we're currently sitting, acting as its support, which you can also see depicted with the volume. And it's a little bit less easier to draw correlations, and lines here with this type of coin because of the manipulation. But these are going to be a little bit more of a complex view. You can see even right now, we had this resistance level That was a previous ascending support level here. You can see two taps here, tap there, and then it acted as resistance pretty clearly. And so you can see that that currently is acting as resistance. So the next level to watch is if we can break past that level. You can see we kind of wicked through, but once again, this is such a much more manipulated coin that some of these charts are not going to be as accurate in a technical sense. And so especially when founders are just randomly selling off tons of coins and you're seeing, BitMEX liquidations just through the roof, so I'm a little bit more cautious with a coin like Ripple. But for now, you can see that 33, 34 cent mark is going to act as resistance. If we can pass that, I think that there's a very, very great possibility that we can go ahead and start heading towards that 44 cent, 45 cent mark, towards 50 cent. But Ripple is just not the coin I like to trade the most. So other than that, if we have any requests from the live audience, we'll take those requests. Let me pull up this Bitcoin chart. We're currently at 10.216, and I want you guys to see what we're looking at here in technical analysis, as we already did a lot. Remember to like this video if you guys want to participate in this book giveaway. I'm going to give this away in just a second to another one of you guys and ask a question. But let's see here what Chris Koss says. Why you all charting against USD after BTC obliterated all these coins for the longest time? LOL. Absolutely, you always should be charting against Bitcoin, right? But for the most part, right now we're charting against USD because we're looking at, what's occurring with the altcoins as the dominance starts to drop. I think that's an important fact here. But traditionally, and as you guys know, we always chart against Bitcoin, and all of our signals are against Bitcoin, of course. Let's see here. Chris Koss says the market will dump soon. This is a peak, so be careful. Thank you for mentioning that. I mean, I think anything below 10,000, we have to be worried a little bit, in my opinion, with the golden cross about to occur. It's a low chance of correction just yet. And one fact here is, if you guys watched our previous video, is when we initially bottomed out here. This is going to be really important. So when you look at this pattern here, where we bottomed out in the 2018 bear run, you can see here we found a bottom at 64,434 over here in April of 2018, and we also bottomed out here with the recent bear market. And so the fact that we bottomed out here, a very important thing to realize is, how is the market structure in correlation to what occurred here, right? So if it bottomed out here, you would expect it to also top out at where that topped out, and that top out was around that $10,000 mark, right? And so not only is the micro trend showing 10,000 as a key level of support, but that previous resistance, we have broken past it. But what's interesting is the candle is yet to close on the daily, on the weekly, I'm sorry. And so we've got about 2 days and 20 hours before that weekly candle closes. It could certainly go ahead and close to the downside. But the fact that we bottomed out here, we broke that top where we previously bottomed out on that trend, and that 10,000 level is not only showing as a key level of resistance from there, but now support, but it's also showing as a key level of support right now on the 4-hour micro, right? You can see we saw this sell-off. It was really the first hard sell-off here. You can see we touched that 10,000. We didn't break it, and that's now acting as a very, very key level. And so the biggest level, I think this shouldn't be white. It's too key. It's too important. This should be green. This is a very key level to watch. Matter of fact, it should be red because we don't want to break that, right? But this should be green because that right there is going to indicate. So this is the conclusion of this video. We'll give away this book. These are the levels to watch with Bitcoin. These are extremely important. And of course, whether Bitcoin goes up and down, altcoins are going to follow when it comes to USD value. When it comes to the Satoshi value, that does not mean it's going to follow. We could see Bitcoin drop and Satoshi values skyrocket, right? But at the end of the day, these are the key levels to watch. And so we'll give away this book and we'll move forward from here. Let's see. Dan Best says, remember when he would threaten to pour it over his head for 200 likes? Oh, because Charlie says he stopped drinking LaCroix due to all the junk toxins in it. That's actually true. I got a message from this worried female, and it literally, I think like 90% of our audience is male. But we're the breadwinners, right? So we're the ones paying attention to this type of stuff. But this girl hit me up and she said, "Do you know LaCroix is very toxic and you should not be drinking that?" And I literally did some research from there, and I went down the rabbit hole and I stopped drinking LaCroix, and now I've got public spring water. So, other than that, my question for this is very simple, right? Let's keep this third grade. We can expect Bitcoin to go above this previous recent high of that $13,000 mark. And why can we assume that Bitcoin will go above 13,800 if we continue in this bullish trend? What asset? So the question is, what asset are we correlating Bitcoin with in order to come up with that prediction? And for that question, you guys can win this book. And other than that, we'll wrap up this live stream. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. If you just tuned in, make sure to rewind a little bit or just subscribe. And so let's go ahead and give this book away. Make sure to be eligible, by the way, turn on your post notifications on YouTube so you guys get all of the notifications when I go live. I'm not the type of YouTuber who just wants to go live for no reason and hype something up. I'm only going to go live when it matters and when I have something important to say. And then on top of that, like the video, we'll give away this book to one of you guys. Let's see. Craig, Timothy, Chris, Randy, Robert. Everyone says gold. I'm going to close my eyes. And let's see. Chrissy Shunda, you went ahead and won the book. Send me a message on Discord and we'll go ahead and send that over to you. We'll give away another book at our next live stream. And other than that, thank you all for tuning in. Have a blessed day and night, depending on where you live. And happy Valentine's Day. Make sure to treat your ladies right in your life and have an amazing day. I hope you guys enjoyed this content, and I'll see you guys all on the Discord. Peace out.